Okay. Tiger apparently was golfing with Dwayne Wade earlier today. How do we know this? Dwayne Wade posted it on his Instagram page. And after he got done playing, he was injured in a single vehicle rollover accident. This is per the LA County Sheriff's Department. Woods had to be cut out of the car with the jaws of life. Now, his agent, Mark Steinberg, released this statement. Tiger Woods was in a single car accident this morning in California where he suffered multiple leg injuries. He's currently in surgery. So I guess here's the question. 888. What's the, gosh, I need the number. I'm sorry, guys. Huh? 877-99 on Fox. My bad. 877-99 on Fox. I'll give you my immediate thoughts. Dan Beyer is kind of our golf aficionado as well as host of his own show, and he hosts I Want Your Flex podcast, but he's our resident golfer. We'll pop on some other people as well, and we'll keep you updated on the story. There's a lot of sports stuff I'd like to get to. We're going to take you to Seattle. Could Russell Wilson be on the move? There's a story out of Houston that Deshaun Watson would approve a trade to 3 different teams. That's fascinating to me. There's a Dak Prescott story out there. If you're listening to Dan Patrick this morning, my man Sean Salisbury was on with Dan. He gave his thoughts. My thoughts are a little bit different. Obviously, Sean was a starting quarterback in the NFL. He knows it a little bit differently than I do, better than I do. TJ Oshmanzada is going to join us, and Eddie House is going to join us. Lakers lose without 2 of their top 3 scorers, but lose at home to the Wizards. So there's a lot to get to. And then last night, great college basketball game and a chance for America to learn about Cade Cunningham, who may well be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But let's react to Tiger. So Tiger in another car accident. This one does not involve Elin, does not involve any sort of mass scandal. Obviously, there's going to be speculation because he appeared a little bit out of it when he did an interview with Nance over the weekend. And he had, remember, prior to him having back surgery again, prior to winning the Masters, he had the DWI where it had the recording. He didn't actually know where he was. So, of course, everyone is going to speculate that there was some form of intent. Just got done playing golf, who hasn't on the 19th hole, or even as soon as you get to the turn, you crack your first one. We don't know. And to people who say that's unfair, I would say it would be unfair if there wasn't a history of driving while intoxicated or a history of using some sort of substance and the obvious pain of having another back surgery. Right? Like it's not that big a stretch. It doesn't mean you wish any harm upon him, but it's a reasonable thing that we're all speculating upon. And what happens is that there'll be some places in my profession, you can't speculate on that. And then there'll be other people that'll just be over the top. Well, he was like, we don't know anything. All we know is we hope the guy's okay. Right? And there's that classic kind of push-pull of, it's like, did his dad push him too much? Is that the reason that he is how he is? How much of it is about his own personal accountability, his own decisions as an adult? Who we are as kids does in many ways determine how we are as adults, but let's not blame every bit of our flaws on our parents, right? Their parents were flawed and, but in different ways, or maybe they weren't. I don't know. When I hear Tiger Woods in a single car accident and he's having leg surgery, I think this is what I think. I hope he, of course, is okay. I'm guessing he never plays golf competitively again. And that's the part that sucks. He has a magnificent gift, which he has honed, which he has worked on, which he has shared with the world, which in rare instances recently has come out in spectacular fashion. Look, it's a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, he was the Masters champion. It was the greatest personal comeback in the history of sport. He's the Masters champion. So when I hear it, I think that's the last time we're going to see him play competitive golf. right? He's obviously sustained injuries in the past, but like there's only so much a body can take. And even though golf is far less stressful on your body than say football or basketball, you do need your legs. You do need. He's had knee surgery, Achilles tendon surgery. He's had multiple back surgeries, one which he's recovering from now, and of course multiple leg injuries. To me, that's the last time we'll see him swing a golf club. Anything other than being the starter at the Masters and the U.S. Open and whatever. But what a personal story. What a Greek tragedy. Hopefully he comes out okay. Let me get you to Dan Beyer. Dan, get just when you saw it pass, because I think we all, and I don't know when we started reporting it. I was talking to some people and looking at it and watching the local stations, but I saw it cross. It was actually an iHeart correspondent who first tweeted it out, and that was about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And it's guy Steven Gregory, who's a correspondent for AM 640. It's one of our cluster of stations in Southern California. Dan Beyer, what did you think when you first saw it?
Well, first of all, let me just say a couple of things. This happened at 7 o'clock this morning, or just after 7 o'clock local time. So the video that Dwayne Wade put up yesterday, there was a picture with David Spade. That stuff was actually happening yesterday. So that's Tiger was doing stuff in the Rancho Palos Verdes, Rolling Hills area with those guys yesterday. So for those that have seen the Dwayne Wade clip, that actually was recorded yesterday. This happened at just after 7 o'clock this morning. I went back to the painkiller scenario again of this is what happened. This is maybe why it happened. The scene is crazy, and I know if you're driving in your car you can't see it, but Dougie crossed over a median and then crossed over 2 lanes of traffic into then the opposite side of that street, and then the car ended up crashing on a almost kind of into a hill or on the side of a hill. So this just wasn't a hit a light pole, hit a tree sort of thing. This went across multiple lanes of traffic, went into a side, hill, which tells me that the vehicle then was severely out of control, that maybe Tiger wasn't in it. That's only me drawing conclusions, but that seems to be, I went back to the painkiller stuff. What's that?
Wasn't in the vehicle?
What's that?
You said it led me to believe the vehicle was severely out of control and Tiger wasn't in it.
No, Tiger was in it. Yeah, he's the only one in the vehicle. I said that, which led me to believe that Tiger was maybe under the influence of painkillers. That's what I brought back to. I'm not reporting this. I'm just speculating. But you were talking about that,
and I've always disagreed with the idea that like everyone else in the world is speculating the exact same thing. Sure. I'm looking at the street going like, is it a sharp turn? Is it not a sharp turn? Could his cell phone have fallen on the ground? Yeah. He went to pick it up. Right? Like you want to make every excuse possible, but considering he has had a DUI, he has been I'm sure he's on pain meds, right? And he just, whatever I don't know if he was playing golf or not playing golf. I guess he played with David Spade yesterday. The whole thing it's scary. Okay. Do you think he ever swings a golf club in a competition ever again?
Yes. I don't know if he wins again. I also thought you mentioned the Masters, and we got so caught up into him winning that time that he went from 14 to 15, and then everybody wanted to go to 19. And I did think at the time that was Jack Nicklaus's 1986, where Jack came out of nowhere and added to his major title and hadn't won in 6 years in a major championship, that was the one-off. That's what I felt that Tiger's was in 2019. That was actually the one-off, not that he was going to go on a streak of wins. So I do think he plays again. I just think it's, now you come back from this where he's reportedly suffered multiple leg injuries. Now you have to rehab that. You have to rehab your back. He's going to be, 46 in December. He just turned 45 a couple of months ago. Yeah, so the odds just aren't there. And now having to deal with all of this stuff just seems very unlikely. Would have been unlikely for him to win again if he was, continuing on this track recovering from that back injury. So this makes it even more difficult.
It's a crazy story. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy sad story. You do think he plays competitive golf again? I don't. But again, none of this is. We have no information other than having had multiple leg injuries and he's currently in surgery. Right? I just at some point your body's like, bro, you can't do it. The way in which you swing a golf club is so violent, and there's such incredible torque put on your back, your hips, and your knees and your ankles that And this would not be. This is obviously not his first surgery, so we'll see. All right, we're going to continue to keep you updated, and just try and be reasonable here. 888. Excuse me, I keep doing it. 877-99 on Fox is the number. 877-996-6369. If you're just joining us, Tiger Woods in a car accident in L.A. mid-morning on a beautiful, clear, crisp day. Some reports had him playing golf with Dwayne Wade today, some yesterday, David Spade yesterday. Regardless, as Dan Byer pointed out, it wasn't like he was going around a sharp hairpin turn and just misjudged it and hit the rail. This was an accident where there's crossed over the center median several times and crashed on a rather innocuous part of the road. So Tiger Woods involved in a crash. Let's get to all of what we know as of this moment. Steven Gregory joins us again, correspondent, iHeart Radio. Okay, first, was it police scanner? How did you find out about it?
Well, first of all, Doug, I'm glad to know that your friend said that I was legit.
Well, it's people who work for the same people we work with, and I was like, "Do you guys know Steven Gregory?" Yeah, he's legit. Well, just because you don't want to retweet a fake tweet, right? And you're like,
"Oh God, no!" And let me tell you,
yeah,
I've broken many stories in my career, and there's always that butt pucker moment where you just sit there and go, "God, I really hope my sources are right. I really do, but they're all reliable." So. But to answer your question, Doug, it was sources within the LA County Sheriff's Department, which I've worked with for many years. And I got a heads up just after 11 o'clock this morning. The accident happened about 7:14 this morning. So everyone knew there was a crash in Palos Verdes, which is a very ritzy part of Southern California. And so even helicopters from TV stations were showing footage of this bad crash this morning, but no one knew who the occupant was. And then I got the call just after 11, and all I got was, we had to rescue, and then they gave Tiger's legal name to me. And I'm like, who? Because I didn't know the legal name off the top of my head. And then when I realized who he was talking about, and then he gave me some details, and I'm like, got it. Okay. So then that's when it kind of started from there, and that's when I sent the tweet.
Okay, so it was 7:15 in the morning. Okay, so there's a bunch to it. So because early on there was he was playing golf with Dwayne Wade because there was social media stuff, but that was actually yesterday. Also David Spade yesterday. So it's early in the morning when some of the details were given. We hear one car crash. I'm watching on TV and educating myself. Apparently you can pick up some speed. Was it at a turn, a bend?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bend, Doug. And so what happens is he was headed north down on Hawthorne Boulevard, which is a pretty major thoroughfare through there. And just in that slight bend there's an embankment. And it looks like, according to deputies on the scene, it looks like he lost control of the vehicle. And so much so that he hit at least a tree. The vehicle flipped when it hit the curb, and then it kind of rolled upwards up that embankment. And I'm not sure how many times it rolled. But then there's the debris field. Now, it doesn't appear that there's any visible skid marks, which usually indicates high speed. And we don't know if it was distracted driving or what, but they do say that my sources there on the scene said that there was no initial indication of alcohol, no smell of alcohol or anything like that. There will be, of course, a full investigation with a tox screen, so we should learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I'm like, look, we don't want to speculate, but because he's had some alcohol stuff, but also some pain pill stuff in the past. And he had an appearance at Riviera at the Genesis Invitational this past weekend where I think you would say he looked a little bit out of it. I actually think it's reasonable speculation considering his past, right? I understand that it's not your job to speculate, nor necessarily ours, but I think this is reasonable to wonder, dude, how does a dude have this sort of accident at 7:15 in the morning?
Sure, and you can speculate a bunch of different theories, but all I know is that something caused a distraction, and he was traveling at what would appear at a very high rate of speed, and those two factors together don't ever end well, especially when you're in a kind of a hilly area with curves and bends and things like that. So, but he's extremely lucky to have just suffered the leg injuries. And, using the jaws of life usually indicates that the vehicle's mangled. The wreckage is so mangled, and he's pushed in there like a sardine. So it's, so there was some serious speed involved.
How bad was when you talk to your sources? We know he's in surgery, but again, that's very, very vague, right? It can be for a laceration, can be for multiple breaks. Could be a myriad of things. How bad did they seem to think it was?
It was characterized to me by someone there that it was possibly a broken leg, as to what was explained. But then when his manager came out and said multiple leg injuries, that could be multiple fractures as well. But I was told that they initially were rushing him to the hospital because of what they thought was a broken leg.
Fascinating stuff, right? Like it's you of all the stories you've broken, like this is just a car accident that had happened hours before that you got a tip on, and now it becomes like the biggest story right now going. Part of it because it's Tiger, and part of it because there's nothing else going on.
Well, what we would typically cover is that there was a crash in a residential neighborhood with a vehicle at a high rate of speed, and a bunch of fire crews had to be on scene and whatnot. And we would make it what we call in the business a small reader, where the anchor would just do one or two lines, move on to the next story. But then when you get a call from a source that, throws down the name at you, and you're like, okay, well then that escalates our coverage a little bit more. So, and the reality of living in this part of the country, as you well know.
Yeah, completely. Hey man, thanks for joining us. Great work. I'm sure you have a bunch of these to do, and you have the rest of your day job to do it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Doug, thank you. Call anytime.
All right, that's Steven Gregory, correspondent, iHeart Radio, AM 640. All right, go ahead, Dan Byer.
Yeah, no, something that Steven just said at the end there, which I think is so intriguing, is, Doug, there's breaking news, and there are high-profile names, and obviously Southern California, a home to many high-profile people. But the way that news is covered in this city, I think it's different than it is throughout any place in the United States when it comes to, the use of helicopters, breaking news, car crash, that sort of stuff. I mean, it is nonstop, and I know it's in our backyard here in Southern California, but every local station here in LA is on this story. And it's really truly amazing to see how it's being covered, and obviously other cable networks and sports networks are covering it as well. But here it's just such a unique story. You turn to every single local affiliate; they're out there. The helicopters are out there, and it has been nonstop since this news broke about an hour and a half ago.
Where were you when he had the first car accident?
I was home. I remember I was living in Santa Monica. I was in my studio apartment, and I just heard Tiger Woods involved in car crash, and so that was 2009. So yeah, it was. I remember. I remember where I was in my studio apartment when I saw it come across the screen.
I was in studio. What was it called? I think it's called Studio C at ESPN. ESPN2 is like Thanksgiving week, right? And we had all those games on during the day, and we were doing wraps, which is like before halftime and after games. And it was right before our first game was about to go on, and the news came down on the internal wire. And we looked at each other like, are we even going to work today? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is what our halftime shows are going to be. Like, we can almost go home. And they were going to send us home, and they decided to we'll do one segment of the halftime would be Tiger Woods and the rest will be basketball. And I just thought to myself, like, I don't think I want to be the basketball guy the day Tiger Woods dies. Thankfully, he did not die, Like, Tiger Woods we're the same age, and yet I still view him, you look up to anybody like that. Sure. Athletically. He's been so great.
Yeah, and this is, another scenario as well where I think that there were, I don't remember at that time at Isleworth where if there were helicopters. I know there weren't as many as there are out here, and the visuals of just how severe a wreck this was. I mean, the front half of this courtesy vehicle, which it looks sort of, I can't even tell if it's a sedan or an SUV. I think it's a
SUV.
Yeah, an SUV. Yeah, I mean it's gone. I mean, Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, now that I see the sunroof, I can tell a little bit better. But you can't even. There's no front half of this car. There's the hood, and then there's nothing else. And to think that if he came out of this, no word on how severe the leg injuries are, but to have non-life-threatening injuries is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it's actually the Genesis SUV. That's part of the deal. Would be my
it's
guess.
a courtesy car. You can see the logo on the side of the.
I couldn't tell though if it was I couldn't tell if the logo on the tires was an Audi, but I was like, that wouldn't make sense. So those big Genesis SUVs are pretty cool. The GV80 is what it is. And I think that's. I think obviously I'm sure that's the high end, the big V6 Prestige model, which is like $75,000 or whatever. But yes, I mean that's. Thankfully, it is a GV80 that he had rolled over. So, I mean, look, the next questions are, was he sober? And will he recover? And it appears that he's okay, but it's just another God, man, Tiger's can't get right, And and who knows, this could be no fault of his own. He's just going too fast and he dropped his cell phone and who knows? I'm reasonable to think that there's a reason they tell you not to be a distracted driver. It's early in the morning. He might have been running late. I'm not going to criticize people for running late. I run late every day to everywhere I go. That's me. But again, it's like you're absolutely allowed to speculate and wonder, considering if you saw him over the weekend on CBS, if you know any of the history, and if you're just a human being and you wonder. But now what's important is he apparently, thankfully, not going to die from this. But how bad are his legs injured? Is it recoverable? And then what led to it?